Moin Moin und hallo, ich bin der Gregor und ich bin wieder mal im Namen von MTV GameOne unterwegs, um mir ein neues Spiel anzugucken. Diesmal handelt es sich aber nicht um Rollenspiele, sondern um Ultimate Fighting. Ich bin heute hier und schaue mir das neue UFC 2010 Spiel an und werde dann auch noch ein Interview mit dem Chefentwickler führen können. Und ja, ich würde sagen, los geht's.
What's up, guys? My name is Nevin Dravinsky, producer on UFC Undisputed 2010. Well, mixed martial arts, I think, is the ultimate form of hand-to-hand combat. It's essentially combining all these various disciplines: your kickboxing, your boxing, your judo, your jiu-jitsu, and literally encompassing them all into one sort of competitive scheme. So it allows you to literally take the best from various points of various disciplines and pit your skills against another person. The UFC is essentially the highest form of or the best league for mixed martial arts in the world. It's the #1 fighting franchise in the world. It has all the best fighters in the world that compete in mixed martial arts. So in terms of the highest form of competition of hand-to-hand combat, where the best athletes come to prove themselves, the UFC is where to do it. I think the UFC is really the evolution of mixed martial arts into really a more professional, more organized system. I mean, UFC introduced a unified rule scheme. They went to all the athletic commissions. I mean, their goal is not to see fighters injure each other. Their goal is to put on the best fights. I mean, there is something inherently violent about fights, but no more so than, say, boxing. I mean, you can win an entire fight without throwing a single punch. You can do a submission against a guy. UFC fighters actually don't get very significantly injured, and I think once they went through and created a rule scheme and actually made it a very professional organization, now I think you're seeing really the highest form of competition. And it's, you know, though it had its early roots and there was a, you know, kind of a stigma attached to it with, oh, this is some violent sport, it's just, as one senator in the U.S. put it, human cockfighting. I think it's actually evolved into something much more elegant. I mean, this is something that I do believe will be an Olympic sport. I think once there is a unified rule system across the globe, that this is something that is truly a global sport. You have athletes in Canada, athletes in the U.S., athletes in here in Germany with Dennis Seaver, athletes in Brazil. I mean, and I think these are some of the best athletes in the world, training and competing at the highest level. So there's no doubt in my mind that mixed martial arts has its place, in Olympic circles. And I think as there's more education about what this sport is, and as it gains in popularity, I think it's only a matter of time before it becomes more global. I think the problem is that it's just so new and expanding so fast that people perhaps don't understand it. But I think it's only a matter of time due to the excitement around it and how fun the actual sport is to watch from a viewer standpoint, that I think it's only a matter of time before you start seeing it everywhere. Well, translating mixed martial arts into a video game is inherently challenging. I mean, there's so much nuance in the sport of mixed martial arts, and to encapsulate that on a controller is just an inherent challenge there. The game seeks to capture how real the UFC is. So the UFC's tagline is "as real as it gets," and the game is actually very technical. Most fighting games, predominantly focus on the stand-up, or they're based in sort of fantasy where you have fireballs and various other projectile attacks. But I think the reason why the UFC brand and the UFC game is so successful is because it is so real. It replicates real fighting, real techniques, and it's very technical. I think some of the things that are the coolest aspects about the game is that learning to become good at the game, putting yourselves in certain positions and learning why certain positions are better than one another, gives you a greater understanding of mixed martial arts, whether you know it or not. Even if you don't get UFC programming or you haven't watched a mixed martial arts fight, fight. There's something about fighting that translates any culture. And with mixed martial arts, having that aspect of the ground game, which is something that most people don't understand, once you learn those aspects, I think, in the video game, if you were to see it on TV, you'd immediately have an understanding of what's going on and why fighters are doing what they're doing to get to certain positions. The UFC game has basically all the main stars of mixed martial arts. I mean, when you look at a pound-for-pound list of who's the best fighter in the world, the majority of them all fight in the UFC. You know, you look at somebody like Brock Lesnar, I think, who's a great example of how big, metaphorically, the UFC has become globally. I mean, other guys that are, you know, just synonymous with mixed martial arts, your Anderson Silva, Chuck Liddell, Lyoto Machida, Rampage Jackson, BJ Penn, George St. Pierre. I mean, these are all household names for anybody that knows anything about mixed martial arts, and even not. I mean, guys like George St. Pierre, Canadian Athlete of the Year in a country, you know, dominated by hockey. This is a guy who, you know, got Athlete of the Year in Canada. So again, you know, as I said, these are the best athletes of the world training at the highest level of their sport. So the game is certainly packed with immense star power. I think you can see, you know, I mean, sales numbers don't lie. I mean, I think you see as the UFC becomes more popular, the video game does as well. I think the game came out of nowhere last year, surprised a lot of people. Certainly, it directly relates to how popular UFC has become globally. But also, you know, I'd like to think we made a great game. I think we made a great representation of the brand and the sport of mixed martial arts. So I believe that as long as we keep putting out a quality product, and as long as the UFC maintains its popularity globally, I think you'll see success on both fronts. As far as competitive games, I mean, we're really not too concerned. I think the winners here are the fans. If you're a fan of mixed martial arts or a fan of fighting games, you know, here you have two publishers putting out a game within, you know, several months of one another. And so this is a great time to be a fan of MMA as well as being a gamer. I mean, 2 years ago, who would have thought this is even possible, you know? I think, as I said, the real winners are the fans, and, you know, we'll just have to wait and see what happens. We're still looking at all of our options for all the consoles. As far as the game, the 2010 version, it's going to be available on the Xbox 360, the PlayStation 3, as well as the PSP later on in the fall. As far as a Wii version, you know, we're certainly looking at our options. It didn't make it in this year, but all I can say is stay tuned.
Du kannst nicht gewinnen, indem du einfach nur auf die Taste drauf haust, sondern musst wirklich überlegen, mit welcher Hand schlägst du zu, mit welchem Fuß trittst du zu, wann gehst du in den Griff, wie sind deine Konter. Es gibt echt viele Sachen, die man bedenken muss, und wie im richtigen UFC ist das im Spiel hier auch umgesetzt. Es scheint mir auf jeden Fall ein Spiel zu sein, wenn man sich richtig dort reinarbeitet, dass man auch echt viel da rausbekommt, aber es ist nichts für, hey, ich lade mal meine Kumpel ein kurz mal und gebe dir nach 5 Minuten den Controller in die Hand, weil dann gibt's Fratzengeballer, aber richtig. Ne? Ist auf jeden Fall sehr, sehr interessant und auch gut umgesetzt. Grafisch vor allem und technisch sieht es echt sauber aus und man erkennt die Leute auch alle wieder. Für Ultimate Fighting Fans ist das Spiel bestimmt echt eine gute Nummer. Ne? Und ich bin sehr gespannt, wie das dementsprechend hier vor allem in Deutschland ankommen wird. Ne? Den ersten Teil gab es ja letztes Jahr, jetzt eben der zweite. Alles größer, alles schöner, alles besser. Mal sehen, wie es wird im Endeffekt. So, wir hatten gerade die Möglichkeit, uns das neue Spiel anzugucken, aber jetzt folgt noch was ganz Besonderes. Ich habe nämlich gerade erfahren, dass ich gleich mit Dennis Siever, dem größten deutschen Ultimate Fighter, sprechen werden kann, und den würde ich gerne jetzt zu mir bitten. Dennis?
Hallo.
Bist du Dennis?
Das bin ich, ja.
Ja. Nee, glaube ich irgendwie nicht, weil, naja, ich dachte, du wärst ein UFC-Fighter und nicht so ein abgebrochener Riese hier. Also so ganz im Ernst. UFC-Fighter haben ja normalerweise so dicke Muckis, so Brock Lesnar oder sowas, aber...
Kommt nicht nur auf die Muskeln an bei uns.
Ja, aber nee, hör mal auf mit dem Scherz. Leute, können wir mal den richtigen Dennis Siever hier ranholen und nicht diese...
Also Freund, jetzt reicht's mir. Wir sehen uns gleich in dem Ring.
Oh oh.
Im Ring in der blauen Ecke, aus Mannheim in Deutschland, die UFC-Legende Dennis Siever. Und sein Gegner aus Brüssel in Belgien, mit einem Kampfgewicht von 152 Pfund, Gregor, der Griechenbomber.
Dich mache ich klein.
Die Kämpfer bitte in die Mitte des Oktagons. Meine Herren, keine illegalen Aktionen. Möge der Bessere gewinnen. Wenn Sie jetzt die Hände berühren, wo tun Sie es jetzt? Zurück in Ihre Ecken.